Flagship robotic vacuums have gotten really good, but for most people, spending $1,500 or more on a robotic vacuum is out of the question, and I get it. So in this video, I've got 7 of the most popular robotic vacuums under $400, and we're gonna see if any of them are worth buying. And as always, there are no sponsored reviews on this channel. First, we'll test their vacuuming performance on carpet and hardwood flooring. Then we'll test their ability to pick up long human hair without getting tangled. We'll challenge their auto-empty bin systems, then we'll test their noise level, battery life, navigation, object avoidance, and finally app performance, and then I'll give you a breakdown of the scores and some final recommendations. To test vacuuming performance, I prepared a mixture of 10 grams each of rice, flaxseed, salt, and flour to simulate different sized dirt and dust, and I ran each vacuum on their maximum suction power using a vacuum-only 2-pass cleaning. I weighed the dustbins both before and after each cleaning task, and I thoroughly vacuumed the corded upright in between tests. First up, the least expensive vacuum in this video is the $279 Dreametech D10 Plus, which until recently was the vacuum that I've been using for the last 2 years in my mostly carpeted second floor. But I did get a new D10 Plus for this video, so it would be a fair comparison. During the carpet pickup test, the Dreametech D10 Plus cleaned for 22 minutes and used 23% of its battery, and it cleaned up 25 grams or 62.5% of the mixture. And after the auto-empty process, nearly all the debris was cleared out of the bin. Next, also for $279, sort of, is this Shark Matrix Plus. I say sort of because I picked up this vacuum off the shelf at Costco for $279, but when I was at Best Buy, I noticed that the same vacuum was $399, and on Amazon this model is only available as refurbished for $179. The Shark Matrix vacuumed the carpet for 30 minutes and used around 50% of its battery while picking up slightly less debris than the Dreametech at 24 grams or 60% of the mixture, and after the auto-empty process, the Shark's bin was completely clean, but the non-removable filter was pretty clogged with flour and carpet fluff. After that, for $298 is the Eufy L60 SES, which stands for Self-Empty Station. And the Eufy cleaned for 42 minutes and used 47% of its battery, but unlike any vacuum that I've ever tested before, it decided to empty its dustbin in the middle of this run. So I ended up measuring the bin 4 different times, and after doing a little bit of math, I determined that it unfortunately picked up just 21 grams, or 52.5% of the flour, salt, flax, and rice mixture, putting it in last place so far. But after the 2 auto-empty sessions, the bin was completely empty, though there was quite a bit of flour caked into the mesh pre-filter area. Next is the Roomba i5 combo that I picked up on Amazon for $350, but it was $450 over at Best Buy. Roomba is of course the most recognizable name in robotic vacuums, but to be honest, it's been a long time since they've had a competitive flagship, so I'm really interested to see how their more budget-friendly model performs. In the carpet pickup test, the Roomba i5 vacuumed for 59 minutes and used 70% of its battery to pick up 22 grams or 55% of the flour, salt, flax, and rice mixture, putting it in second to last place. And after the auto-empty process, the Roomba still had a significant amount of debris left in its dustbin. After that is the $360 Roborock Q5 Max Plus, and the Roborock had a great showing with a lot of similarities to the Dreametech, cleaning for 22 minutes and using 23% of its battery, but the Roborock had the best pickup score yet, cleaning 27 grams total or 67.5% of the mixture. And after the auto-empty process, the Roborock's giant bin was almost completely clean and even the filter was mostly free of dust and debris. Following that was the $399 Eureka E10S, which cleaned for 36 minutes but only used 20% of its battery, which is the best battery efficiency yet. But unfortunately, the vacuuming performance wasn't great, and it picked up just 22 grams or 55% of the mixture, the same as the Roomba. And also like the Roomba, the Eureka still had a decent amount of debris left in its bin after the auto-empty process. And last, the most expensive vacuum in this video is the new SwitchBot K10 Pro, which is technically just outside of the budget range at $419. And the main difference between the SwitchBot and the rest of the vacuums in this video is its extremely compact size, which is supposed to help it fit into tight areas between furniture. But in carpet testing, the K10 Plus Pro performed extremely poorly, picking up just 19 grams total or 47.5% of the mixture, putting it solidly in last place, and it got stuck under my daughter's chair twice, and the high pile carpet caused it to repeatedly give an error that its side brush was tangled. And I had to temporarily remove that side brush just so it could complete its run. After the auto empty process, the SwitchBot's bin was mostly empty, but there was some mixture stuck on the corners and caked to the top. And that means that the best carpet pickup score was the Roborock Q5 Max Plus with 67.5%, followed by the two least expensive vacuums in this video, the Dreametech D10 Plus in second with 62.5%, and the Shark Matrix in third with 60%. To test hard floor performance, I used that same 40-gram mixture, again on maximum suction, 2-pass, vacuum-only mode, but this time on my LVP flooring. And as expected, the vacuums not only did a much better job picking up the debris, but they also used less battery. And the Roborock Q5 Max Plus came out on top again, picking up all 40 grams or 100% of the mixture, followed by the Shark, Eufy, Roomba, and Eureka that all picked up 39 grams or 97.5%. The Dreametech picked up 38 grams, and the worst performer again was the SwitchBot K10 Pro that picked up just 35 grams or 87.5% of the mixture on the hardwood flooring. So combining those two vacuuming scores together, the Roborock Q5 Max Plus was easily in first place, while the two least expensive vacuums, the Dreametech D10 Plus and Shark Matrix, tied for second. One of the biggest differences between these inexpensive vacuums is the style of their roller bars, and there are three basic styles. You've got full bristle brushes like the Eureka, full rubber brushes like the Roborock, Roomba, and SwitchBot, and then hybrid brushes like the Shark, Dreametech, and Eufy. And the main difference between them is how they handle long human hair. So to test this, I spread 2 grams of 14-inch synthetic hair over my high pile carpet, and I sent out the vacuums on a single pass cleaning. And after each test, I collected any missed hairs, and I gave the vacuums 2 separate scores. One for how well they picked up the hair, and a second for how well they avoided brush tangles. Starting with the pickup scores, the Dreametech D10 Plus and Roborock Q5 Max Plus picked up 100% of the hair for a 10 out of 10 score. The Eufy and Eureka had just a small amount of hair left over and scored 8 out of 10. The Shark Matrix and SwitchBot had a moderate amount of hair left over, and the Roomba left by far the most hair on the carpet. And after that are the hair tangle scores, which are a little bit more complicated. At first glance, the rubber brushes on the Roborock, Roomba, and SwitchBot look like they have almost zero tangles compared to the bristle and hybrid brushes. But in reality, they have almost the same amount of hair wrapped around them. But they're designed to collect the hair inside of the cavities on either side of the brush instead of on the brush itself. This strategy prevents the decrease in cleaning performance that you see on bristle brushes when they're wrapped with hair, but you still do need to clear that wrapped hair every 30 to 60 days to keep the brush rolling smoothly. The Eufy L60 base has a feature that I've never seen before, where a rotating blade comes out of this slot to cut any hair tangles on the roller. But in my testing, it wasn't particularly effective, at least with the synthetic hair. The Dreametech D10 Plus's hybrid brush performed pretty poorly and was completely wrapped with hair, but the good news is that all modern Dreametech vacuums use the same brush dimensions. So if you wanted a full rubber brush like the one on the L10S, you could just order one from Amazon and switch it out. Or you could even get their premium $50 TriCut brush that has hair cutting blades built into the roller. I reran the hair test using the TriCut brush, and the only hair left on the carpet was this 1-inch clump of cut hair, and aside from the hair wrapped around the side brush, the TriCut roller itself was basically completely free of hair, and that mirrors my experience with it over the last 3 months. The other big difference between these vacuums is their auto-empty systems, where some are rear-mounted and some are bottom-mounted. And both the Shark and Eureka bases are both unique in that they use bagless canisters, so you don't need to worry about buying replacement dust bags. To test the auto-empty base's ability to clear pet hair clogs, I used 5 stretched and matted cotton balls to fill the vacuum's bin, and then I triggered a single auto-empty cycle and inspected the bins afterwards. And in this first test, the Eureka E10S was the only vacuum that failed to completely clear its bin after a single cycle. But it was able to clear the remaining cotton after a second auto-empty. I also tested these auto-empty systems' ability to clear more dense debris using 50 grams of uncooked rice, and I found that the Dreametech and SwitchBot were able to completely clear their bins, while the Roborock, Eufy, and Shark had just a few rice grains remaining in the corners. The Eureka had a moderate amount of rice remaining, and the Roomba struggled to clear any of the rice at all from its bin and had roughly 30 grams left over even after emptying. I mentioned earlier that the Eureka and Shark bases use bagless debris canisters, and in the past, a weakness of bagless systems was that they weren't well sealed and they could blow dust into the air during the auto-empty process. So to test this, I set an air quality meter on top of the base during the emptying process, and I measured the surrounding area for particles of various sizes. And surprisingly, the only vacuum that had any issues spreading dust was the SwitchBot K10 Plus Pro, which significantly increased the particle count in both the PM 2.5 and PM 1.0 range, while none of the other vacuums had any increase at all. The main advantage of a bagless system is not having to buy bags, but be aware that the bags themselves do act as disposable filters. So without them, you'll need to do a little bit of extra maintenance, like cleaning the secondary filter on the Shark and washing the entire filter basket on the Eureka periodically, which I personally don't find appealing given that the disposable bags are much cleaner to use and change and last around 60 days in my house, and they only cost about $1.50 each, so that's about $9 a year. Depending on when you run your vacuum, the noise level may or may not be important to you, so I measured the relative noise of each vacuum, and here they are from loudest to quietest. And I also measured the noise level of the auto empty bases, and here those are from the loudest to quietest. Next, let's talk about navigation, path planning, object avoidance, and battery life, because all those things are very tightly related. Navigation first, with the exception of the Roomba, all these vacuums use top-mounted spinning LiDAR units to map your house quickly and efficiently so that they can make sure to get full coverage in the least time possible. But unlike the more expensive robotic vacuums that use structured light and cameras, these inexpensive models also rely heavily on their front bump sensors to clean close to walls and navigate around furniture. And that means that they do spend a lot of time clumsily bumping around into things and changing directions. And that can eventually result in scuff marks on your baseboards. And in the case of the Roomba i5, it relies completely on this bump and turn method, which not only means that it's much worse at path planning, but it's also jarringly loud when it slams into something that it wasn't expecting. To test the robot's path planning efficiency, I ran each vacuum on a single pass, full clean of my entire first floor, and I recorded the total cleaning time and the battery percentage used for each vacuum. And I was pretty blown away by the differences, where the Roborock was the fastest, completing its full cleaning run in 48 minutes using just 39% of its battery. And the Eureka had the best battery life, cleaning for a total of 61 minutes, but still only using 40% of its battery. In contrast, the Shark Matrix cleaned for 75 minutes over the course of 2 sessions, because it had to stop and recharge after 60 minutes, and it completed that final 10-minute clean 2 hours later after it recharged. And the Roomba had by far the longest cleaning time at 90 minutes total, which, as I mentioned before, is the result of it not really doing any path planning, but more or less just randomly bumping its way around your house. And you can see that in the Roomba's cleaning report, there were still some areas that it wasn't confident that it covered, compared to the Roborock that shows its exact path and every single turn that it made. Speaking of which, something that I personally love is waking up in the morning to fresh, neat carpet vacuuming lines. And you can see that the Dreametech had by far the straightest and most uniform lines, followed by the Roborock, SwitchBot, and Shark. The Eureka and Eufy did okay, but they seemed to clean in random areas near the end of the cycle, which messed up the overall neat lines, and the Roomba was definitely the worst and had a lot of crooked lines and random pathing. When it comes to object avoidance, as I mentioned before, one of the biggest differences between flagship robotic vacuums and these more affordable models is that the flagships like the Eufy S1 Pro use front-mounted cameras and structured light to make intelligent avoidance decisions. And you can see that in my object avoidance test, using a pair of shoes, rubber dog poop, and a power strip, the Eufy S1 Pro is able to identify each object and adjust its cleaning accordingly, keeping a safe distance from the dog poop, but understanding that it can clean close to the shoes without causing a problem. However, these more affordable vacuums rely on their bump sensors for object avoidance, which means that they mostly just plow through everything, and in my testing, none of them were able to avoid the dog poop or the cords, but all of them except for the SwitchBot cleaned around the shoes without disturbing them too much. So if you do opt for one of these less expensive vacuums, just know that you'll need to keep your floors a little bit more picked up and set no-go zones for any areas where they could potentially get themselves into trouble. And that leads me to the last section, which is app performance. And all these vacuums will create a map of your floor plan using their various sensors. And all the LiDAR robots pretty much work the same way when it comes to creating that initial map. However, I found that the Shark app had the best method for defining and separating rooms, and it's the only app that I've ever used that allows you to rotate your no-go zones to account for diagonally placed furniture. The Eureka, Roborock, and Dreametech apps also worked really well for editing maps to create rooms and specifying no-go zones, but they weren't quite as intuitive as the Shark app. The SwitchBot app had all the same functionality as the others, but I didn't find it particularly user-friendly, and some of the options were confusing and hidden, while the Eufy app was the only one that I had any major issues with, and I wasn't able to divide my floor plan into rooms despite my best efforts. But thankfully, zone cleaning and no-go zones zones still worked fine. But the Roomba app was by far the most limited and buggy, and even though I took the time to label my rooms and save my layout, every time the Roomba cleaned it seemed to just forget my map completely. And because it doesn't have accurate LiDAR mapping, it doesn't have the ability to use any no-go zones, so you can't keep it out of any problematic areas. It was also the only robot to ever show up as offline in the app, and annoyingly after a clean it takes a few minutes saving and uploading the map before you can get it to clean again. So conclusion time, here are the scores normalized, grouped, and totaled. And when it comes to pure cleaning performance, the Roborock Q5 Max is the clear winner with the best carpet and hard floor pickup, the best hair pickup and tangle avoidance, a nearly perfect auto empty score, and the best planning and shortest overall cleaning time, making it without question the best vacuum that you can get under $400. However, if you divide the total points by the price of the vacuum, the best value is the Dreametech D10 Plus, which again had very respectable carpet and hard floor performance, great path planning, and a perfect auto empty score. And it costs nearly 25% less than the Roborock at just $279. If a bagless system is important for you, the Eureka also performed well and finished in third place overall behind the Roborock and Dreametech. And although I generally think that the wet rag style mopping that you get at this price point isn't particularly worth using, the Eureka E10S has the most advanced mopping system of all these budget robots, with the ability to raise its mopping pad slightly when passing over low pile carpets. As always, there are no sponsored reviews on this channel, but I do have links down in the description for all the vacuums in this video. And as always, I appreciate when you use those links, since as an Amazon affiliate, I do earn a small commission on the sale at no cost to you. I'd also like to thank all of my awesome patrons over at Patreon for their continued support of my channel. And if you're interested in supporting my channel, please check out the links down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. And as always, thanks for watching The Hookup.